Hey folks, what if I told you the very thing you've been trying to hide might be the key to unlocking your greatest power? I know it sounds backwards. We're often taught to fix our flaws, hide our insecurities, and hustle past weakness. But what if the one thing you're most ashamed of is actually your superpower in disguise? Today, we're diving deep into the idea that your weakness isn't something to overcome. It's something to understand, embrace, and transform. Let's get started. Welcome to the Catalyst Podcast, and I'm your host, Jason. Of course, you can catch us on all your favorite platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. You can also listen to our episodes on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and our home right here at Podbean. Folks, we want to hear from you. If you're interested in being a guest or a contributor, reach out to us at catalystmotivationpodcast@gmail.com. That's catalystmotivationpodcast@gmail.com. Join the community today and be part of something truly transformative. Welcome to episode 135. Your weakness is your greatest strength. Okay, so let's start with a story. All right. A few years ago, I was told I was too sensitive to lead. And no fuck, I took it personally, right? I tried to toughen up, speak louder, act more assertive, but the more I pushed against the sensitivity, the more disconnected I felt from myself and others. Then one day, a colleague pulled up to me and said, "You know what I love about working with you? You actually listen. You make people feel seen." And it was in that moment that the script flipped. My sensitivity wasn't a liability. It was my leadership style. I mean, we live in a culture that celebrates strength, confidence, decisiveness, and resilience. And those are beautiful traits, don't get me wrong. But somewhere along the way, we started believing that anything soft, uncertain, or emotional was a flaw. We've been taught to toughen up and push through, fake it till you make it. And while those phrases might get you through the moment, they don't help you build the life that truly feels true. Here's the truth that I've come to believe. A weakness is often a strength that hasn't found the right context. Let that sink in. A weakness is often just a strength that hasn't found its right context. So let's take a common example. Introversion, right? In a loud, fast-paced world, being quiet can feel like a disadvantage. You might have been told you're too reserved or not assertive enough, or you're so hard to read. But here's where what rarely gets said. Introverts are often the best listeners. Introverts are often the deepest thinkers. Introverts are often the most thoughtful creators. They don't dominate a room, they transform it. And if this is resonating with you, if you like what you're hearing, make sure to like and subscribe and share this episode. Okay, so according to research by Susan Cain, author of Quiet, introverts tend to outperform extroverts in leadership roles that require careful decision-making and empathy. In fact, her studies have found that introverted leaders often deliver better outcomes when managing proactive teams because they listen, reflect, and empower others rather than trying to control the spotlight. So, if your weakness, what if your weakness is just strength waiting for the right stage? I mean, think about it this way. A hammer is powerful, but it's useless when you need a paintbrush. A flashlight is brilliant, but only in the dark, right? Your traits aren't inherently good or bad. They're tools. And the key is knowing when and how to use them. So let's say you're someone who feels things deeply, right? You're somebody in your feels, okay? You cry easily, you get overwhelmed by conflict, you've probably been told you're, air quotes, too emotional. But what if that emotional depth is actually your gift? I mean, you're empathetic, you're intuitive, you can sense what others need before they even say it. That, folks, that is not weakness. That's emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence? Well, according to a study by Talent Smart, it accounts for 58% of performance in all types of jobs and is the single biggest predictor of success in the workplace. Isn't that something? Okay, let me share something personal. I used to think my tendency to overthink was a flaw. I'd replay conversations, analyze decisions, spiral into what ifs. Oh my God, would I spiral into what ifs? It was exhausting. But then one day I realized that my overthinking was rooted in a desire to be thoughtful, to be intentional, to get things right. So what I did is I stopped trying to shut it down and started channeling it. I built a space for reflection. I created systems to capture my thoughts. That same trait that once felt like a burden became the backbone of my clarity. And let's be honest, overthinkers are just emotional detectives with a PhD in what did the text really mean, right? Is this making sense so far? If so, you know what to do. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share this content for your friends, someone who might need it. We'd really appreciate if you do that. And thank you so much for listening. Okay, let's continue on. So when you reframe your weakness as strength, here's what happens. You stop hiding. You show up more authentically, which builds trust and connection. You gain clarity. You understand patterns, and you use them with intention. You also build confidence, not because you've fixed yourself, but because you've accepted who you are. And you unlock creativity. When you stop suppressing parts of yourself, your full self becomes available for expression. I have found that out so greatly. Once I kind of let go of that stuff, my creativity has blossomed in what we're doing with the podcast and what we do on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram. It's really been extraordinary for me, and I want to be able to help you. So let's move forward. I'm going to invite you. I'm going to give you an invitation. Okay? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to stop asking, what's wrong with me? Stop asking that to yourself. What's wrong with me? And start asking, what's right with me that I haven't learned to use yet? What's right with me that I haven't learned to use yet? Because your weakness isn't a mistake. It's a message, a mirror, a map. And folks, when you learn to read it, you don't just become stronger, you become whole. Okay, let's flip the frame. Instead of asking, how do I fix this? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? I love that. I've been doing that a lot. Anytime I have a situation, I'll go, what is this trying to teach me? What do I need to do? What is this teaching me about myself? Flip the frame. Flip the frame. All right, folks, I want to talk about one part that no one posts about. The middle. Yes, the middle. The part between realizing your weakness and turning it into strength. Let's be honest, it's not glamorous. It's not linear. It's often uncomfortable. It's often a lot uncomfortable, confusing, and also full of self-doubt. But this, folks, this is where the magic happens. This is where the magic happens. So, okay, here's a story I've never shared publicly. All right. There was a time I felt like my sensitivity was holding me back. I get overwhelmed in meetings. I'd take feedback way too personally. And I'd feel emotionally drained by the end of the day. I thought, if I could just be tougher, if I could just be more successful. So I tried. I put the armor on. I stopped sharing how I felt. I kept everything inside. And you know what happened? You know what happened? I didn't become stronger. I became smaller. less connective, less creative, less me. And the reason why is because the messy middle showed me that growth doesn't come from pretending. It comes from processing, from sitting with the discomfort and asking, what is this trying to teach me? Right? We often think of transformation as a straight line from weakness to strength, but it's really more like a spiral. Sometimes you revisit the same patterns, but when you do, each time you do it with more awareness, more compassion, more tools. Folks, the messy middle is where you learn to regulate your emotions. You build new habits, you rewrite old narratives, you practice showing up differently. This right here, it's where you stop performing and when you start becoming. Here's something fascinating. According to research from USC, University of Southern California, people who engage in self-reflection during periods of discomfort, what is wrong with me? Discomfort. It's discomfort. I don't know what I was trying to make discomfort into, but there you have it. So let me start over. Research from University of Southern California, people who engage in self-reflection during periods of discomfort are significantly more likely to experience long-term behavioral change than those who avoid it. Translation, the messy middle isn't a detour. It's a path, people. It's a path. So let's say you struggle with indecision, right? You second guess yourself constantly. You feel stuck. In the messy middle, you don't magically become decisive overnight. You start noticing patterns. You ask things like, what am I afraid of? What do I need to do to feel safe in making this choice? What small decision can I practice today? And slowly but surely, you build trust in yourself. You stop outsourcing your power. You start owning your voice. Because let's be honest, indecisive people don't just struggle with big life choices. No. We can spend 20 minutes choosing a Netflix show and still end up watching nothing. So when you lean into the messy middle, here's what you gain. These are the things that you gain. You gain self-awareness. You start seeing your patterns clearly and without judgment. You're emotionally resilient. You learn to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. You also authentically grow. You evolve from the inside out, not by force, but by understanding. And your confidence. You're not just the loud kind, but the quiet kind. It comes from knowing who you are. I've found myself saying less and reacting less since I've been doing this. And it's actually been amazing how much I've grown. How much I've grown over the past 3 years. Heck, well, how much I've grown over the past 6, 7 years. Dealing with cancer, dealing with a step-parent who stole money and raising money for my cancer, and getting divorced, having to take sole custody of my child, which I am so happy about. But there's all these things, relationships that I had with people who I would, if there was a conflict, I just would stop talking. And then they would say, I don't communicate. Well, I can't say anything because you get crazy. You literally scream and yell and throw things. So why am I going to say anything? Why am I going to talk? I had to go and I had to change. And it's been a long and hard process. It really is, right? It's not easy. Everybody wants a quick fix. It doesn't happen that way. You got to put in the work. I still have a long way to go, but I'm far better off than I was last year, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago. Tremendously different. So much more peace. The anxiety and the guilt and the shame. Sometimes they pop up, but not as much as they used to. All right, I got off track instead. Let's get back to this. So let's say right now you're in the middle, right? If you feel stuck, uncertain, or messy, I want you to know this. Listen to me when I say this, folks. You are not broken. You are not broken. You know what you are? You're becoming. And this is the part where you build strength and you'll carry it for the rest of your life. And the best part? Just like me, you don't have to rush it. You just have to stay in it. And if this is hitting home, please, please, please make sure to like, subscribe, and share because someone you know could really use this today. All right, let's continue. So far, we've talked about the myth of weakness in the messy middle, the part where you're learning to sit with discomfort and reframe your story. But now, let's talk about what comes next. Becoming. Because once you've seen your flaws differently, once you've stopped running from it, the real work begins. And it's not about fixing. It's about integrating. It's about discovering who you really are, embracing it fully, and becoming the version of yourself that doesn't just survive, but thrives. So let's break this down into 3 steps, okay? Think of this like a personal transformation blueprint. Because right here, right now, people, this is your moment of truth. The moment you stop avoiding and you start investigating. Stop avoiding. We're investigating. We're going to become Columbo or Madlock or whoever, right? I want you to ask yourself this. How often do I get criticized for? And what do I often get criticized for? What do I often get criticized for? What do I feel insecure about? That one's definitely going to hit a nerve, right? What do I feel insecure about? And what do I try to hide in professional or social settings? These aren't easy questions, folks, right? They are not easy questions. They require honesty and vulnerability. But they're powerful because they point you towards the parts of yourself that are asking to be understood and not rejected. It's about listening to the child inside you. That child that has always been there from your conception until the day you die. It's about loving that child and protecting that child and giving that child love. Now, maybe you've always been told you're too quiet or you shrink in group settings. I know I have, and sometimes I still do. If I'm in a crowd with new people, sometimes it's hard for me to approach people. And a lot of times I feel overlooked like you do sometimes. But when you dig deeper, what happens is you realize you're actually deeply observant, right? You notice things others miss. You think before you speak. If I knew how to speak, I can say you think before you speak. Hey, folks, it's raw, real, and unedited, all right? That's not weakness. It's not weakness, folks. It's wisdom. This is where the shift happens. This is where you stop resisting and you start reclaiming. You ask yourself, what's the intention behind this trait? What's the intention behind this trait? You ask yourself, what's the gift inside the mess? Ooh, I like that one. I like that one. What is the gift inside the mess? So we record these things in advance. And by the time this comes out, it'll already be official. So I was told this week that my services were no longer needed in my learning and development job. But I'm in the middle of a training class, so I still have 2 more weeks. So I have 2 more weeks before I'm terminated. What's the gift inside this mess? Well, it gives me the opportunity to explore other avenues. It gives me the opportunity to look for something that shows potential and growth. It gives me time to take a self-inventory. It's crazy. I think when it was first told to me, I kind of fell to my knees. But since then, I've been asking myself these questions, and really I'm looking at it as a gift. This is really a gift. All right, it really is. I mean, I can what I'm doing here, with with TikTok and YouTube and Facebook and a podcast. Gives me an opportunity to focus on that a little bit more. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. In fact, I was once the announcement was made at the end of the day, I went back to my boss and we had a great conversation. I told her, like, don't be upset. And I mean, it is what it is, but I'm looking forward to it. So what's the gift inside the mess, folks? Every time, or sometimes, every time, but sometimes, when you're looking at it, we always look at it as a mess, but there's gifts inside. There's messages in the mess. So embrace them. All right. Finally ask, how has this trait helped me in ways that I didn't see before? How has this trait helped me in ways I didn't see before? I mean, let's say you struggle with anxiety. You always see it as a burden. When you embrace it, you realize it's also what makes you prepared, detail-oriented, and empathetic towards others who feel overwhelmed. Your anxiety has taught you how to care deeply and plan thoroughly. I mean, let's be real. Anxious people are the reason group trips actually happen. We've got the itinerary, we got the snacks, and we got the backup charger. Right? So what are we going to do then, right? What are we going to do? This moment right here is the integration phase, right? Here's where we take what we've discovered and embrace it and use it. So we ask ourselves, how can I apply these traits intentionally, right? Where does the strength shine brightest? What kind of person do I become when I stop hiding this part of me? That's a big one. Ooh, that's right in your face. That is right in your face, right? Right? So you've embraced your sensitivity, right? Now, what you're going to do is you're going to use it to lead with empathy. You create safe spaces for others. I know that word safe spaces has kind of been bastardized, but you do. You create a space where people can feel themselves, right? You become the person people turn to when they need to feel heard and not just managed. This is where your weakness becomes your signature, your style, your superpower. Because when you go through this process, discover, embrace, become, here's what starts to shift. First thing that shifts, self-acceptance. You stop trying to be someone else and start loving who you are. You have authentic confidence. You don't just perform strength, you embody it. You live purposely. You align your life with your natural gifts, not just external expectations. And you deepen your relationships. You show up more fully, which invites others to do the same. Here's the thing. Becoming isn't the finish line. It's a practice, a rhythm, a way of showing up every day with more honesty, compassion, and more courage. And the more you lean into who you really are, the more you lean into who you really are, the more you realize, people, you were never broken. You were never broken. You were just becoming. So let's take this and take it all, and I'm going to give you a simple exercise that you can try tonight. Okay? I call it the mirror exercise. So what you're going to do is this. Write down one trait you've always considered a weakness. Like, I'm too emotional. Then what I want you to do is I want you to flip the frame. You're going to ask, what's the strength behind this? Like, I care deeply. I connect easily. And I feel things that others miss. The next step, you're going to find one way to use it intentionally this week. All right. An example, I'll reach out to a friend who's struggling and just listen. I'm always reaching out to people and friends and family. Just a little shout out. Hey, how you doing? You okay? Everything all right? And if they call up, we'll sit there and we'll listen. You know, people have so appreciated it, and my relationships have grown because of it. And it's been really magical. Folks, this isn't about pretending your weakness doesn't exist. It's about realizing it's not a weakness at all. It's a misunderstood strength. So listen, holy smokes. Wow, this one's gone long, man. Let's wrap this up. So listen here. You don't have to be someone else to be powerful. You just have to be fully you. So the next time you feel like you're hiding a part of yourself, look closer. That might be the very thing the world needs more of. So discover it, embrace it, become it. You've got this. Folks, that's it for today. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need it. Like and subscribe to our podcast for more motivational content. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok for more inspiration. And don't forget to grab my book, The Ways of Compromise, Navigating Back to Common Ground. Whew, man. If this book isn't timely, I don't know what is. It's available right now in both digital and paperback formats. Folks, thank you so much for joining us for episode 135. We look forward to seeing you next time for episode 136. Go be great.